He said it between the shrimp and the dinner rolls, not quietly, not in a corner with a lowered voice the way a person says something they know is wrong. He said it the way he said everything, as observation, as fact, as a thing so settled it required no particular volume to land. He was talking to my Uncle Richard, and the sentence arrived between bites, casual as weather. Carol was the weak one. Always was. You knew that. The room went still. Not everyone heard it, but enough people did. I could see it in the particular stillness that moved through the nearest cluster of guests, the way people stop moving when something has happened that they haven't decided how to process yet. My Aunt Margaret looked at her plate. My cousin turned toward the window. Nobody said anything. He is the kind of man rooms have learned not to challenge. 40 years of practice had produced that immunity. I had watched it my entire life. The way his sentences landed without consequence. The way people absorbed what he said, rather than responded to it. The way the air around him rearranged itself to accommodate whatever he needed to be true. I was standing 6 feet away, holding a plate I had not eaten from. I set it down on the nearest table. I pressed stop on my phone. I saved the file. I had started recording 20 minutes earlier during his toast. I want to be precise about that. I had not planned for this sentence specifically. I had planned for something like it because he has a pattern, and patterns are plannable. Over the years, he had said things at family gatherings that were later denied, softened, recontextualized into something more palatable than what had actually occurred. My mother had done some of that softening herself, which I understood now as survival and not as complicity, though it had taken me a long time to understand the difference. I had started recording when he began the toast, and it became clear within 30 seconds that the toast was more about him than about the woman we had buried 3 hours earlier. The phone was in my jacket pocket. The recording was already running when he said it. 47 minutes of audio. The sentence at the 31-minute mark. I thought about my mother. I thought about 41 years, the specific arithmetic of it, what 41 years of marrying a man like that actually required. She had worked full-time and raised 3 children and managed a household and managed him, which was its own category of labor that nobody had ever named or counted. She had done all of this without performing it, without asking to be recognized for it, with a steadiness that he had apparently looked at for 4 decades and seen only fragility. What he called weakness I now had another word for. I had wanted to say that word to her while she was alive. I had drafted versions of it in my head 100 times. Conversations I was going to have when I found the right moment, the right language. I had not found them in time, which is the thing about time that nobody tells you cleanly enough. It does not wait for you to feel ready. I could not give her that conversation now. I could give her something else. I thought about who should hear the file, not widely. I am precise about things the way my mother was precise about things. She taught me that, without calling it a lesson, by example. Sending it widely would have been about punishment, about spectacle, about making him feel what I felt standing 6 feet away, holding a plate I couldn't eat. I did not want to give him a spectacle. Spectacles can be contested and managed and survived by men like him who have spent lifetimes managing rooms. I wanted one person to hear it. My mother's sister Diane had been asking, quietly for years, not with accusation, but with the specific bewilderment of someone who loved my mother and could not fully understand the shape of the life she had chosen to stay inside. She deserved to understand. She deserved to hear, in his own voice, at least part of the answer to the question she had never been able to ask directly. I forwarded it once. To Diane. I did not add a message. The file was the message. I left the reception before it ended. I did not say goodbye to my father. I did not make an exit. I simply was there, and then I was in my car, and the car was in my driveway, and I sat in it for a while in the dark without going inside. I thought about my mother. I did not think about him. That was new. He called twice that week. I let it ring. I noticed I did not feel guilty, which was the newer thing, not the not answering, but the absence of guilt around it. I had been managing my guilt about him for so long that its absence felt almost like a presence, something in the room I kept reaching for and not finding, I did not call back. The following week he called once, then nothing. I did not fill the silence. For the first time in 34 years, I let it exist without rushing to smooth it into something more comfortable for both of us. The relationship did not end with a confrontation or a letter or a scene. It ended with a silence I stopped being responsible for. That was my decision. I have not reversed it. I say my mother's name differently now. In conversation, when she comes up, to friends, to colleagues who ask about family, in the ordinary moments when the dead surface in the language of the living, I used to qualify her. I used to say, my mother, it's complicated, or my mother, she had a difficult marriage, as though her identity required context before it could be received. I don't do that anymore. I say her name. I say what she did, what she built, what she endured and did not call endurance, because she didn't want us to see her that way. I say she was precise and consistent, and quietly funny, and that she read every book I recommended, even when she didn't have time, and that she was the one who taught me, without ever naming the lesson, to document. She was not the weak one. She was the one who stayed functional inside a life that would have broken someone with less structural integrity. And she did it without asking to be recognized for the effort, and she deserved to have that said out loud at her own funeral by the man who had witnessed it firsthand, and instead said something unforgivable between the shrimp and the dinner rolls. I say her name. It is not enough. It is what I have. I say it anyway,